am happy to be here. I am a guest. I am so excited about your show. I'm so excited y'all got a podcast. I am happy to be here. So whatever you think is best is what we should do.
And you know what? I actually feel like that's the perfect kickoff to this episode of the Audacity. I feel like our guest has just announced herself. And honestly, bringing guests on into the podcast has been something that we wanted to do since September. But we wanted to like warm y'all up first. We wanted to get you all excited. In fact, today, a girlfriend of mine who doesn't even sew was like, I can't turn you off. I feel like I'm sitting in the room with you and Julian, and I don't want to turn off the episode because I feel like I'm going to miss out. But don't worry, friends, you will not miss out because everything has been recorded and is just waiting for you to give it a listen. But today we have the one, the only Lisa Woolfork in the studio with us today. And honestly, we could not have had a different guest to kick us off with. Why? Because we all know that Lisa is basically the fairy godmother of Black podcasters in the creative space. So the fact that we were able to kick off our interviews with her feels like the only appropriate homage to pay to someone who has had such an influence on both myself as well as Julian. But staying true to our format, Julian is about to kick us off with our Am I the Asshole? So I cannot wait to hear what you have chosen.
All right, y'all. Hey. So, am I the asshole for struggling with my mom's sewing passion? Okay.
I mean, like, is this written by my daughter? Or maybe it was written by Ryan. I don't know.
These are all anonymous.
So my mom's recently gotten super into sewing again, which she used to do lots. This time starting about 6 months ago. But it's only been recently that she's actually gotten to the stage where she can make clothes. She's been making herself a lot of banger clothes, and I'm really happy for her. Personally, I'm very picky when it comes to what I like. I don't shop very often, and there's only a few specific shops I go to because I know if I go to others, I won't find anything, and I'm fine with shopping just like this. Recently, however, she keeps asking me to let her make me clothes. She'll show me patterns, and it's just something I'm not interested in. So I'll say, I'm sorry, Mom. I just don't really like that on me. And I give those type of answers. She keeps taking it very personally and saying to me, what, you don't like my clothes? Geez, I must be a horrible mom. Sorry for trying to do something nice for you.
Damn, that escalated.
Wow.
Chad, I got so many thoughts already.
Wow. Gaslight.
Finally, last week I conceded and said to her, if you really want to make me something, you can, but you have to know that I might not necessarily like it, and it's not an attack on you. I just have very specific styles I like. She was over the moon and made me this skirt. It was fine, but just not something I could match with any of my clothes or something I would actually wear out. And I told her that, but she just got upset at me for making her waste fabric and not trying hard enough to appreciate what she's done. I reminded her that I warned her and I probably wouldn't like it, but she still wanted to go ahead and do it. This this has been happening repeatedly over the past few months. And I'm not sure what to do anymore. Am I the asshole for not appreciating what she's making and not wanting her to make me anything? Any advice would be greatly appreciated.
This is such a juicy question. How do y'all get these? Trust me, once I figure this out, I'm gonna copy this shit for my show.
Do it.
I'm gonna copy this shit, y'all. If y'all find out, because listen, I didn't even know what these words stood for. I was like an Atia,
Yeah,
let
all
me
of the above.
Let me get some Atias going for the Stitch Please podcast because these are some doozies, yo. So listen, I'm the guest, but I want to know what if I wasn't here, what would y'all say? Because I'm just like my mind is freaking blown.
Well, is she the asshole? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Agreed.
And the reason I chose this is because we usually hear of people wanting us to make them stuff. And this is coming from the other direction. And when they tell you the truth, you got to believe them. And they told you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can't be mad at it.
Yeah, no, I feel like I absolutely felt you, Lisa, when you were like gaslighting, right? One of the things, and of course, I feel like I've shared this. Obviously, Lisa, this was covered on your episode, how I create like a little Canva, a little, little one pager for the kids to approve of before I go and make them their items. And they approve of their fabric choices as well. Because one thing about me is I'm not about to be out here wasting fabric or my time or my skill set on something that's not going to be appreciated. You know what I'm saying? But
Mm.
I also believe in autonomy. If they say that that's not what they want, that's not what they want, right? Just like if they have specified what they do want, well, shit, let's make it pop. Let's make it happen. Unless you don't want me to. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
when we go out to like Target or when Kalima is going out shopping with friends, like I'm like, window shop.
Yes.
Take pictures of the things that you're interested in. So I, as your mom, understand your style. So one, if I'm out thrifting, I can pick up things. Two, if I'm wanting to make you things to kind of fill in the gaps, I can also pick up things, but I don't want to make or buy things that you're not going to wear. We aren't trying to add to textile waste at all, you know,
No.
not at all.
Mm-mm.
So I don't think that she's the asshole at all. And I feel like the mom is definitely the asshole. And I don't like as someone who has had to deal with the guilt riddenness like of being the daughter and being guilted by her parents, like no. In fact, her mom is the asshole. Like, girl, keep that sewing shit to yourself if she don't want it.
And I think too, one of the dangers of somehow forcing what you want onto another person,
Yeah.
that can't really be concealed under benevolence.
Mm-mm.
And so
Correct.
it's trying to seem like, oh, well, I love sewing and I love crafting and I love making you things. That seems to be very different from the person you are making them for does
Mm.
not want them,
Mm-hmm.
does not love them, does not appreciate them. And the world is a lot bigger than just sewing for this one person. And I think what
Yeah.
you described, Veronica, is way different than what I did with my own kids. You know, when they were small, I just made their clothes and they grew up thinking that that was totally, totally normal. That everybody's mom makes them like Italian cotton boxers. Everybody's mom, makes them, will send them a swatch for a this or a that,
Mm-hmm.
and so it just became something that was normal to them. But as they got older, and one of the things that, that can be very difficult when you are trying to raise free children is that they're going to act free. And they
Mm-hmm.
will tell you, I do not want anyone in this family buying me any clothes
Mm-hmm.
except for Auntie Stephanie.
Right. Because rich Auntie Stephanie has taste and
Yeah,
style.
well, he got another rich auntie. He got a few
Mhm.
rich aunties. He got some rich aunties. There's only one, however. And that one, not his mama, not the other aunties, just one auntie is the one that gets his style and can be
Mhm.
trusted to pick things that he will
He
enjoy.
trusted.
This was about when he was about 12 years old.
Uh-huh.
And ever since then, he has been very particular. And so I think it's about recognizing what your sewing really is
Mm.
versus what you think it means. If you are sewing something and saying, this is my love for my child in the form of a skirt,
Mm-hmm.
and my child doesn't like the skirt, or
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't match what she would normally wear, it doesn't fit into her wardrobe, then my child is rejecting my love.
Mm-hmm.
That is way too much pressure to put
Oh
on a
yeah.
sewing project. That's way, way too much. And
And
so,
honestly, I think that it was not just that. I think it is if I make you something, I'm going to guilt you to wear it and conform to my style.
yeah, yeah.
So
I'm
I saw it from that control perspective, and
Yeah.
that's such an
control.
elevation
That
Yes.
control.
of
Oh
emotion.
yeah.
Yes. And then when you mentioned in the letter, when the mom said, oh, you don't like what I make, you don't like my style. And it's like, well, did you make it for her or did you make it for you? Because
Right.
you should wear what you want, regardless of what anybody else thinks.
That part.
And she should be able to do the same.
Yeah. I feel like mom is making it about her and it shouldn't be about her if she's over here trying to make something for her daughter, you
Absolutely,
know?
but she is.
Yeah.
And I think is wanting that as a way like, it almost comes off as, I don't like your style. And this is my way to change it up and insert myself into it.
Insert.
Julian always with the perspective shifting.
It's a great one too, though, because what it realizes is that this mom, this is probably not the only thing they fuss about. This is probably not the first time this mother has said, can you try this? Or will you do this? Or will you wear this? Or will you go here? It's not just about, this is not just about a sewing issue. It's about, I think as Julian hit it on the head, it's about a control issue. And it's a control disguised as beneficence. I love you, therefore I need to put all my love into this thing, and you need to accept it. And not just accept it, you need to accept it, you need to cherish it, you need to take pictures of it, you need to wear it
every day.
Yeah, it's not, it will never be enough in that. If that's
take photos in it.
It'll never be enough.
Yeah.
That's too
I also feel like you know what, I'm actually proud of us as moms who sew for having this response. So shout out to us. Okay. Shout out to us right there. Right. Because I do feel like there have been some moments where my feelings have been hurt. I might keep not wearing it. But I also feel like you said, Lisa, like when you're raising free thinkers, they're going to be free.
Yes.
And they have felt the freedom to be like, yeah, I didn't actually like that.
Yes.
So that's why I didn't wear it.
Yes.
And it was like, okay, cool. Noted. Now my feelings aren't hurt because I just thought that, like, I don't know, maybe it was personal, but now I know that this is just not your style. And I feel like that's something that we can work with. Like,
exactly.
Tell me what you want. Tell me what you want.
Exactly.
And I wish I had that as even as getting older. My mother is very vocal and critical sometimes of things. I remember high school graduation, I wanted a pair of shoes. These were a pair of two-toned Prada loafers.
Ooh. Fancy, huh?
That I found at DSW on clearance.
What? The DSW
clearance?
That's where that's the shoe graveyard. Guess where the nice shoes go to perish. Like
for $100, I think it was $135.
Are you? When does DSW have Prada? Like the what?
Look! I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, well, Julian always be finding all kind of stuff left.
He really does.
Shop Goodwill. I got that for $10. I got this vacuum suction ironing board for $8, and they gave me.
Julian had my ass all up and through Ross looking for Uggs.
I mean, look, I'm just saying.
Wow.
And
so you found your Prada loafers, and your mama was like,
"So no, I was paying for them. And she said no. She said, I will not. I will leave you in the store if you buy them."
What?
Why? Did she think it was too expensive for a shoe?
Did she like them? She didn't like them.
She didn't like.
I mean, she's acting like you were trying to walk around in some chaps for graduation,
right? Or like they had "FU" written on them with all the letters written out.
They were two-tone brown Prada loafers, and it was like a brown. I remember it was like a cream and a brown Prada loafer.
Wow.
She didn't like them. Yeah, but she's done that to many of things. Like if she doesn't like something, I remember even fabric. There was some sushi fabric I bought one time. She's like, "Ugh, why do you want that in the store?" And we would start bickering in the store as I am paying for this fabric with my money.
Oh. Wow.
So I think that certain parents and stuff like that, it's a control thing. And
maybe
it shows up differently.
Yeah.
And this is the way that for this mother it shows up.
Yeah, I think you're right. And then this idea that it becomes a rejection, that it only becomes a rejection if you offer it as a demand.
Yeah.
But it's not a rejection. It's that rejection is a ploy. It's not like she put all that on because you don't want me to you are not giving me this control, and usually this works.
Yeah, usually it works. Yes.
Right. Because in the past, when I did this, I had a different result, and now I don't.
Yeah. And I think that it's definitely difficult to move into healthy relationships with adult children. Well, no, I'm not going to say it's difficult. I think it's difficult for me as my children are getting older. I remember, Aaronica, mine being close to your age, and they didn't have any plans that I didn't know about. They didn't have any friends I didn't know about. They didn't go anywhere that I didn't know about because they were 5 and they could not go any other place beyond school or whatever. And that absolutely changes. And if you want to have like a longevity of relationship, which is something I'm interested in, you have to transition out of that authority role into the role of advisor.
Yes, guide.
I'm here to listen. I guide. You know what? What do you think? Well, this is what I would do, but I want to. What do you think? This is what works for me. But what would you like? And so that it's a constant process of letting go. And I think there's a time that, and I think that can just be really hard. This constant letting go. Like I used to do this. I used to do that. There was a time when I couldn't even go to the bathroom alone. I would walk out of the bathroom and they'd be like a doggone audience sitting by the door. And now it's like, I haven't seen you for weeks. Are you okay?
So that stops?
That stops.
Wow.
So much stops.
Wow.
It's really amazing. It's quite amazing.
That I'm not going to lie. That part right there, I'm looking forward to because listen,
I
have an audience of cats and kids waiting for me.
Yeah.
And they'll just open up the door and start talking. And I'd be like,
no, still private. Nope, still private in here. Still.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. I love that for you. Love that for you.
I'm quite excited.
Well, thank you both for engaging our conversation for Am I the Asshole? And I think that, especially to the audience, people seem to really enjoy the Am I the Asshole? So
this is lovely.
Please send in your own. We would love to hear. If you have some, definitely can keep it anonymous. We ain't trying to tell all your business and blow up your spot. We ain't trying to do that.
Yeah,
but definitely, if you have an Am I the Asshole that you want to hear on the podcast, please send it in.
I love this.
We actually really love to receive them. Whether they are personal or whether they are just found on the internet and you're just like, hey, we just want to hear your insight. So please continue to do that. And again, Lisa, I'm not even going to, I don't actually feel like you need an introduction. Like the people know who Lisa is, right? The people know who Black Women Stitch is. In fact, I just had a guest who came over my house on Saturday and she was like, I just love the Stitch Please podcast. So I don't feel like you need an introduction, but everyone knows who Lisa is, right?
And if you don't know, now you do
know. Okay.
Okay.
But of course we know her as the one who presses boundaries, the one who creates space for Black creators in our arena, the one who is not just one who spits out these hot fire big words, but does it with intention because she knows exactly what they mean, because she's also a professor. She is a published author. She is a quilt artist. She is an apparel artist. She just is an incredible force to be reckoned with. And I speak for both Julian and I when I say that we are honored to be able to even have a podcast to open up to welcome you to. So with that, we're going to kick off this interview session. And just to set things up and set the stage for our audience, Julie and I, we're just going to be tag teaming Lisa. We have the 10 questions that we asked each other. We may or may not get through the 10 questions. We're going to do the best that we can with what it is that we've got, because we want to keep you here for a good time, not a long time. And with that, Julian, do you want to kick us off?
Sure, definitely. So, what does audacity mean to you in the context of creating and crafting and creativity?
I thank you so much for having me be here. Thank you for the opportunity. And I just got to say, I am so proud of y'all. I am so proud that you all have a podcast. I'm glad that we get to see your chemistry captured in an audio record to listen to into the posterity and into future. Thank you all for doing this, and thank you for having me. I think audacity for me really is about nerve and verve. It's about nerve and verve. It brings together a certain type of energy that is so self-possessed that it might seem like you're being bold. It might seem like that, but really what you're doing is just being your full and total self.
Ooh.
And when you're able to be your full and total self wherever you go, that can be a really nice and powerful form of fortification, where you feel like you are, that you're being held and embraced, when you're walking with your ancestors, when you're, like, oh, I remember when my grandma did this for me, or, that I am the product, I am the dream of so many people to be here, what my parents hoped for, what my grandparents and great grandparents hoped for, And so I don't take any of that lightly. I really do believe that we are the culmination of lots of people, some of whom we know, but many more that we don't. And I think that whenever I'm feeling, which I do definitely get low, I get like, overwhelmed, exhausted, et cetera, the thing that helps me to keep going is just to remind myself that I am worth it.
Yeah.
That I am worth it. I am worth the energy. I am worth the effort. My dreams matter. The things that I want are things that I can have. And I just do my best to work toward them. And that to me feels like, some might say is audacious, but I think that's really a combination for me of nerve and verve.
Nerve and verve. I like that. I like that a lot. And in truth, I'm sure that there's a lot of moments that you can probably think back on, but is there a specific moment that you can recall when you took a bold or creative leap? And what was that outcome? I mean, like, I can think of one.
Well, the outcome is Black Women Stitch. That is the outcome. I created Black Women Stitch because I needed a Black creative community that looked more like the one I grew up with, rather than the one that I had come to adopt while living in predominantly white spaces. I had been the lonely only for many years. I grew up sewing. I grew up with my mother sewing. I'm a 6th generation sewist. That means my grandmother's grandmother was a seamstress. And I didn't want anything to do with it. I just didn't want anything to do with it. But then I started graduate school and I wanted a stress reliever. And I thought sewing could be it. And so I started sewing and fell in love with it. And I fell in love with it so hard that I would go to classes, and I would go to technical college classes, and I would go to retreats, and I would go to quilt shop classes, and I would go to all these different things. And I was always the only Black person at all of these things. I went to graduate school in the Midwest, where it's just a not very big Black population where I was. And, that was fine. I came here to another majority white city and did some of the more of the same things. And it was all fine until it wasn't. And that snap for me came in the wake of my own work as a Black Lives Matter organizer in Charlottesville. And there was this white supremacist terror attack. It was devastating. It got global recognition for being a large white supremacist rally. It was fatal. One person was killed, 20 people were injured. And we were standing, my spouse and I were standing right there when the car came through. So we had, we barely missed being hit ourselves. Wow. And then we saw all of this terrible trauma, and then nightmares, and then interviews and media this, and just all of the work that you do as an organizer to help manage the coverage and stuff like that afterward, in addition to dealing with your own trauma. All is to say, I went to a quilt retreat with some white people. These are some folks that I had been with for like 15 years. And when my baby was born, they sent me a quilt. When my father died unexpectedly at an event, they refunded me the money and let me come free the following year. Like, I thought that we were close. We were not. We were not, because what really was happening is that as long as I was the colored girl they thought I was, it was okay. But when I became a person who to them was speaking out about racism, when I became a person who was very visibly on the side of Black lives and against fascism, all of a sudden that's a bridge too far. And so I was effectively banned from this organization. I attended this event, and then I had already paid my money for the next year's event. And when I got home, like a few weeks later, my check that I had sent them for this event was in the mail to me in an envelope with no note, no post-it, no nothing.
Wow.
Just my check was returned. And so dumb old me is like, oh, well, let me check. Let me call this lady. I know her pretty okay. Let me see if it's been canceled. Maybe that's why they sent me the check back. And she says, no, I don't think it's been canceled. I just think you broke the rule. And the rule was that Charlottesville was not to be discussed, and you discussed it. Now, let me be clear. I did not walk in there preaching about fighting fascism and white supremacy to these people. People asked me questions because they're like, oh, I saw you on the news, or I saw this, or I heard that. How are you? I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. And that was the thing that was too much. That was the thing that was too much. And when I tell y'all, I was so hurt. I was crushed. I was like, I can't believe that they would do this to me. I was so hurt, so wounded. I was like, I really like going to these things. I really like having a place to sow in community. And now I don't have that anymore, blah, blah, blah. And that then after that, I got embarrassed. And I was embarrassed. I was like, who did these people think I was all this time? That who did they think I was? It made me feel as though I was like their Black friend, the one they pull out in arguments when people say that they're being racist.
The docile one that goes along
Right.
with everything.
Right.
So for me, Black women stitch, I said that I would never again audition my humanity in exchange for doing something I loved. And that sewing was so important to me that I could not do it with anyone who did not believe that the lives of my children had inherent value.
Yes.
If a person cannot say Black lives matter and cannot fully say that and believe that, then we have no basis for any future interaction in a context that involves sewing. Like, right. I don't want to sit around with you. I don't want to come to your meetings and eat stale donuts. I don't want
Not just stale donuts.
I don't want it.
Because you know they are, and usually stale powder donuts that they bought at the store a few days ago.
Yes, exactly. Well, some they had left over. They took some to the kids' school, but then they had leftover. So now here it is at this meeting. No, I don't want it. And so instead, I built what I needed to heal myself. I built what I needed to care well.
What I needed to heal myself. That's good.
To care for myself, you know, that is what Black Women Stitch is. That is how it came to be. It's hard to say what it is. It is a community. It is a space. It is a project of advocacy and a way of building an archive of our experience. Like all of those things are there. And the genesis behind it was one of healing. And so Dr. Joy Harden Bradford has this wonderful book out called Sisterhood Heals. And it's great. And like, I listened to it on audio and it's like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what Black Women Stitch did for me. And what I think it can do for others as well. So that's why I'm so glad to be here. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity to meet y'all, you know, meeting y'all and working with y'all over the years and seeing your own flourishing. And it's just been a real blessing to really to sink myself completely into a Black sewing sphere.
Yes.
So in your discussion, I think you forgot one adjective to describe the work that you do, and that's a beacon. It is in many ways, it is the lighthouse that people can glum to when they're looking for that safe space, when they're looking, and sometimes what we say in church is a life-saving station, especially within craft that we know that can be healing and really soothe the soul. You have built a life-saving station when people are looking for a place that they can go to, looking for a place that they can be their full authentic selves and bring them with them.
Yes.
Not just the pretty fabrics with flowers and pastels and stuff like that, but bring their full selves.
Yes.
Bring the boldness, bring the color, bring all of that together.
Yes.
So I appreciate seeing that, and hence why we will always support Period. Period. That's
Point
period.
blank, period.
Just saying.
Thank
Just
y'all
saying.
so much.
Or as
Truly.
the kids are saying right now, period.
Period.
That's
I
right.
can't roll my tongue right now. I got too much spit in my mouth. But yeah, period. And I think really, and you answered our next question, but kind of to hear it more in your words is really like, because I think your work, not only this work that we see in the podcast and stuff like that, but also in your scholarship that you do for an everyday basis, you are showing crafting and your form of self-expression audaciously and how that can lead to an audacious life. But in your own words and in your own heart, how does sewing or crafting serve as a form of self-expression and audacious living for you?
Oh, I love this question. Thank you so much for this. The way that I think about sewing is inherently liberatory. Let me explain what I mean. I'm thinking, for example, about Audre Lorde and her famous speech that she gave at this women's convention where the phrase, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. And in this speech, what she's explaining is just because you've been marginalized by forces of oppression doesn't mean that once you get your freedom, you need to use the exact same tools that kept you oppressed. And that if we continue to use these same tools that kept us down to help us move up, then we're not really moving at all. Right. You know, it's not inherently, it's not going to generate the results that we really want. You know, that's why, you know, when we start to look at some of these systems that have been so toxic and harmful, it's not enough just to get Black people in them.
Absolutely.
You know, it has to be some actual substantive change. And so when I think about master's tools, of course, we think about patriarchy, white supremacy, etc. I started to think about these as actual elements. And so I started thinking, yes, we know that, you know, patriarchy, for example, is a master's tool. But one thing I want to make the argument of is that the needle and thread are not master's tools. The needle and thread have been given to people who are on the margins. There was a time when, like in the 1700s, people that were tailors and, you know, they would come together and form guilds, but they weren't like revered as wonderful members of society. They were often seen as like laborers, unless somebody like was working for a king or something like that and making this finery. There is a way that sewing, at least for me, has the potential to thread together elements that had not been put together before. I really think there's something about sewing that really is about materializing something, taking a material, a fabric, and making it into a thing.
Right.
That's transformational. That is incredibly powerful. That is like, and when I say materialize, I really mean it. I mean it just like in Star Trek in the old days when they would go through the little thing and all their little particles would form a human or whatever, you know, like that's what I think sewing does in terms of materializing things. When you go to the store and you buy 3 yards of cone denim and then you spend hours and hours and hours and then you got a pair of jeans. You materialize those by through your own labor, through your own, like, you know, you made those happen. They did not exist before. And were it not for you, they would not exist now. There is something powerful in that creativity. And that to me is what sewing can do. I am very much interested, and that's something that I'm writing about right now, is about this in some ways great like revolutionary miracle that you can find with the needle and thread.
Oh, yes.
I love it.
Yes, yes. So in truth, I actually feel like you answered this next question as well, but I'm gonna just give you the opportunity to possibly share even more insight here as well. What challenges have you faced in your creative journey and how did Audacity help you to overcome them?
I think I am still in the phase of facing challenges. I find myself often torn between getting support and help financially, and feeling like I need to do all the work myself, all of it, every single thing. And that it's not something, this was the thing I really had to unlearn. And this was an active unlearning that I had to do last year. No, actually it was in 2022, active unlearning. And it was having money to support this project does not somehow make it less worthy, less good, less loving of Black people, less liberatory, or anything of the sort.
Right.
I had been thinking, because I hate capitalism so much, I was like, I can't get sponsorships, or I can't work with brands or businesses. I can't get money that way. I have to get money some other way. And that some other way has been really difficult, and it just makes things really hard. And I'm tired all the time. And, and then I read a book, and the book is called We Should All Be Millionaires.
By Rachel Rogers.
By Rachel Rogers. And I listened to it. And it was funny because I was working with a coach at the time, a time management coach, a Black woman. And we've now since become friends. And she was like, I want you to read this book. And I'm like, I don't think I'm going to like it. I don't want to read it.
She came out with a new book this year.
Oh my. Okay, I'll have to check it, because I do like her stuff. I do. And so she was basically saying, look, all the stuff you want to do, Lisa, if you want to, do a radical this and a radical that, you could do it you could do more with money than you can without money.
Come on.
So why don't you get a lot of money and give it to the causes that you want to support? Because people who are currently rich are not doing it. They're not. So why don't you get the money and then you use it in a way that will be supportive of the people that you want to support? And I was like, I cannot believe it took me that long to figure that out. And I keep thinking about my grandmother, who was born in 1913, who worked as a laundress and as a seamstress, and was never paid her full value of her work, of her labor, who had in her wallet, we found after she passed, she had an ID card that Black workers had to have in order to be in town. And it had her thumbprint on it, so that the police, and they did this with like as much of the help as they could.
Right.
And like the way that she was treated, I'm just like, you know what? Fuck y'all, pay me and my grandmas too. Give me nanas.
Look.
Because y'all been holding on to that for like a long time.
And there's interest. This part. With interest. So for me, that has been like my big challenge. It's been trying to get out of my own way. It's about trying to find, to continue to work through the monetization piece without losing the soul and the love and the determination and all of the things that are still here. And also to recognize that as a person who is just one person with a lot of energy, I'm definitely a high energy, high capacity person.
Definitely.
I definitely get I definitely get a lot of stuff done for sure. And I also get to be a Black woman who doesn't want to be tired all the time. I thought that was normal. I really thought that I do what everybody does. And my sisters are pretty much the same as me. We are all three of us, like, none of us has like, okay, you go to work and then you come home. It's like, no, you go to work and then you have this thing and then you're in this org and then you help. Or my sister's like volunteering at church, or my other sister help start a soup kitchen, or my other, you know what I mean? Like, we're all like doing something. It's not just like you do your 9 to 5, you come home and you have time with your family, you have dinner, you watch TV, you go to bed. No, that is not our life. That's not my life, and it's not theirs. And it just seems like, which is great. And I can get support with that. And people can help me, and I can get money for it. And
yes.
I love it.
I love that so much, because I like to live in an and world as well.
And we need to, I think the visibility of that is not something that we always see.
Yes.
That you can have, it's the and of it all. It's because it's always been either or the long sufferingness of being, of like the Black mother or something like that. And like, and Big Mama always, like when she passed, she was a hard worker. She did all of this. And with, like, but they can live you can live a soft life too. You can live a
Yes.
fulfilled life. You can live a life of dreams that are reached and achieved.
Right.
And they can be
Absolutely.
audacious in what you
Yes.
dream.
Yes.
Sometimes we miss that and we don't see it.
You are so right. And I think that once we shift out of the scarcity mindset into an abundant mindset, that makes all the difference. I think the scarcity is what keeps us afraid. It keeps us ashamed. It keeps us scrambling among one another instead of saying, you know what, there's a lot out there.
Absolutely.
There's a lot out there. A lot.
And like that point right there, the scarcity mindset to abundance mindset, Lisa, I'm like, we could probably do a whole podcast episode just on that and the revelation, as well as how that right there is really what is holding us back when it comes to moving forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it even has to do with how money, capitalism, et cetera, was introduced to us.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
We were made to feel about it, as opposed to us taking it and reframing it so that it benefits us.
Yes, absolutely.
But we might need to invite you back to do a whole separate podcast on that topic right there.
I mean, but just from the perspective of like sewing and how that stops you from doing the projects that scare you.
Yes.
Or stops you from using the expensive fabric that you've been holding.
The expensive fabric
for 12 years.
Yes, exactly.
Just letting it dry rot. Just letting it get some off.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you ain't using it.
Yeah, exactly. Can
I get an amen, somebody in the office?
Amen. Hallelujah.
Amen. That's all facts.
Let the church say it.
That's all facts. That's all facts. And or even folks who like will count themselves out. Like, well, I know some folks who have said, well, I don't want to make anything with zippers. I don't want to make anything that requires buttonholes. I don't want to make anything. I'm like, so you just
at least over here calling out the things I used to just be like, oh, I'm gonna have to hard pass on that.
I'm just saying, like, you're gonna have clothes with no clothes. You're gonna have clothes with no closures.
Clothes with no closures.
Clothes with no closures. That's what we're gonna do. Clothes with no closures. We live in
you basically making ponchos and tents.
Yeah. We live in an abundant universe, and you're gonna have poncho tent, no closure clothes. Okay, girl.
You really want to look like Dior New Look. You want Schiaparelli. You want Paul Poiret. You want designer. You want couture.
Yeah.
Don't want to do the rudimentary things of couture.
Yeah, exactly. Or don't even get me started on how people don't really know what couture is.
Well,
and that haute couture is something that you actually have to have a stamp / badge for by the French government.
Yes.
Wow. Exactly. You have to have that. And so everybody, haute couture is like, well, let's just take that off because we know that's not you because you're not French. No. So that's that.
And it was funny as I was watching.
He said, let's just pause. Let's remove. Okay. Let's be respectful. All right.
I was watching the Emmys last night and like literally all these like couture. This is couture. I'm like, if you have not had a show in the last season with at least 42 looks, including usually a wedding dress, and was part of the calendar of couture.
Listen,
is it couture?
Really use that? Really use that?
We really be out here slinging words around though. Just
they love the shit out of some synonyms. They will make a synonym out of anything. They think custom is couture.
It's not.
It's not. It's just not. And like I've studied. Well, that's wrong. I was gonna say I've studied. I have seen and attended a seminar on Ann Lowe's gowns.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they showed us the insides of those garments. And when I tell you, the bra cups are sewn in, the stays are sewn in, and use something called wiggle boning. That's the fact that all of this is hand done and will not fit another human person. Beyond the human person it was made
for, yes.
In 1953. That person could have a daughter, and it will not fit her because it wasn't made for her. And
the dress would not fit the person who was made for maybe a month or two later if they had 2 or 3 pieces of cake too many.
Exactly. Or too few.
Yes.
Or too few.
Yes.
And of course, this came to public light with Kim Kardashian wanting to wear was it Marilyn's dress and they were like, ma'am, but this wasn't made for your body, and this was made for Marilyn's body. And so, but there's 2 different bodies, and she was like, it doesn't even matter. Meanwhile, all the people were like,
no longer created.
But it does matter. It does matter.
What ended up? I don't follow her, so I don't know what's going on. Did she end up wearing it or getting a replica?
So she wore
she
it
got sewn
on the
into it.
actual carpet.
Mhm.
Did they have to split it up the back for her to put it on?
No, like she did some work to her body to make it work.
Okay.
I think she wore it on the carpet up the
Was that
stairs.
after she took her butt out?
Yes, I think. Oh, child.
Okay.
You know what, Lisa? I can't.
I don't
I'm
know.
just
I
saying
don't know
she
how.
could not fit it with that ass she had on. She could not. What you talking about? She had a black lady's butt, and Marilyn was curvy, but she ain't had no black lady booty.
Marilyn was curvy for her time.
She
Yes,
was.
she was very much so. But
We
she
in a
did not wear
different
it the whole day.
time now.
But there was damage done by the
There was
time that
damage
she
done.
did wear it.
Mm.
There was some runs and stuff in the fabric, a fabric that is no longer created, a fabric that was outlawed because of the high flammability of the fabric.
So let's wear it under some really hot lights.
Yes.
An event.
She did end up changing out of it though.
Yeah, like literally as soon as she got to the top of the stairs, there was a curtain or something for her to change into a replica that was made. So she just wore it up the
And
stairs.
she could have just worn a damn replica the entire time.
I think so too. Like, I guess that's when you care more about yourself than you do about history or posterity or whatever. Like, you don't have to. If you really,
I'm like, that sounds like another
description
the
co-opting of. We've seen the co-opting of history and trying to have that connection to idols.
Yes.
Let's be real.
Yes.
This was an American version of I want to be seen as divine.
Yeah.
As close as I can be seen to an iconic original figure
to
solidify my own iconography in this zeitgeist of American culture of 2020, whatever it was.
Wow.
Again, the audacity.
How sad though. I mean, really, Lisa, how sad. It's sad.
Way to humanize it for us.
But like, no, really,
but
it's just
that
it's
you can't
tragic.
see yourself as your own self as being enough. Yeah.
Or that all she has is money. That's it. Like, what else?
But the way you said it, it was the honesty and the truth of all she has is money. And it hit different. That hit different.
Am I wrong? Like, really?
No, you're not. That's what makes it.
I feel like it's even more like, imagine thinking that money was all you needed in order to set yourself aside and you not having anything else.
Yeah. Money and the currency of attention. And that stuff we give her. I don't give it to her, but she gets it elsewhere plenty, you know? And this idea that all you need is wealth and attention, and you can take a historic gown that is not made anymore, and you can wear it on your own ass and wiggle yourself up the steps at the Met Gala just so you can be seen and photographed in a historic gown that is not made anymore, where the fabric doesn't exist anymore. That was
had never been washed, that had only been worn once. And when it was worn that one time, the original owner was sold into the dress too.
Yeah. Like
the read for me, Lisa.
Terrible. It's just tragic. It's just tragic. It's really sad. Po thing. Po thing.
But can we also just take a moment to the way that how eloquently you just read the filth out of her is I love it. And I thank you and I appreciate it. Because I mean you read her to hell without, and it was a bless your heart moment of a master's level.
Oh God.
A master's class. And how to read somebody so eloquently with scholarship.
With scholarship.
I appreciate it. Like that right there could be a dissertation. There. I just need to say that. I need child. I need to learn. I mean, sitting at the feet of a master. But kind of going back to things, and especially in the sewing world where we are, I think that a lot of times there is a whole idea of perfectionism and people wanting it to see it a certain way. I mean, here we were talking before we actually started recording, people deciding what is the right, or deciding what would look best, or what is flattering for a body or something like that. And I wanted to know, like, how do you find the balance between crafting and all of that chatter, but also having the freedom to experiment and find your own groove in the creative space.
The balance between inspiration and integrity.
Mm.
I like yeah.
I gotta say, I feel like some of that comes with age. I
Mhm.
think, you know, when I hit 40, it was very much, ugh, I am not doing any of that. And then once 50 hit around, I was like, oh gosh, I ain't doing that shit again ever in life. I am so excited. And so there's something about claiming your time, because when you sit down to create something, you are investing an irreplaceable resource. You can get new fabric, ideally. You can buy more needles and thread and all that, but you're never going to get that hour back
No.
that you gave to that. And so I think that perfection is another part of the scarcity mentality. I think that perfection is I think that perfection is a social fiction that stops us from trying. I think that the point of perfection is to offer, is to present you with what seems insurmountable. And that's really only harming yourself. And this is one of the reasons why, at least for me, I don't know how it works for y'all, but like when I'm sewing something, I never am like, this has to look exactly like the envelope.
Right.
You know, I want to get the exact fabric they have on the envelope. I want to get the source from the No, I don't want that. That is not what perfection is to me. For me, perfection is finishing something in a way that is perfect for me. Like, these are the colors I like. These are the fabrics I like. These are the, you know, I find it incredibly sad when you have people that are making things, but they want it to be just like everyone else's.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I don't understand it, but and I understand, like, oh, fashion, or let's do a dupe of this, or let's do a dupe of that, or I like this particular style and this particular, luxury brand, and I can make that, and etc. I think that that's one thing. I think that that's your, like, engaging your kind of technical curiosity, your technical creativity. How can you ruche these sleeves? How can you gather these materials? How can you do this shirring, right? These are technical things at which we become proficient over time. But for you to love something, does it have to be perfect? Or does it become perfect as you are doing it? Does it become something that you are proud of as you are making it? So for me, perfection is never the goal. Perfection is a dangerous illusion. I find it seductive and unreliable. There is no such thing as perfect. Actually, I know, like, in some of the Amish quilt traditions, then they're very neat with their work. They're very neat. They're very like
precise,
expert, very precise, but they'll put a mistake in on purpose.
Yeah.
And you won't be able to see it. I won't be able to see it, but they'll know it's there because they say that only God is perfect. And so I think we're being way too hard on ourselves if somehow perfection is the baseline.
Yeah.
That's odd. It's
funny,
not.
I think I refer to perfection as procrastination dressed up.
Because it keeps you from doing it, for sure.
Yeah.
It definitely keeps you from doing it.
And it keeps you from living.
It does, yeah.
Ooh, doesn't it?
It keeps you from taking risks. It takes you from actually taking your own thoughts and your own creativity and letting them materialize, right? Yes. Because we have to replicate. And of course, I feel like in our culture, we deviate. And for us, I feel like for us to deviate is very natural.
Yes.
For us to create our own path is very natural for us and very organic for us to do. Like, I have never seen, I even look at my own like pattern covers and I'm like, I don't ever want to recreate it the same way. Like, I don't even know if I could, right? Because I always see, and I say this, of course, as I'm sewing live, which Lisa, I'm sure I know you've heard me say before too, like, these pattern instructions, these are just suggestions. I get to determine where we go from here. Yes. Which I think is so important, because if we were so caught up in perfection, imagine how many of us wouldn't be creators.
Right. Right. And I think that that's the whole point, right? I think that if you tell someone you have to be perfect, that is somehow a demand, then that's an easy way to discount them because perfection is an unattainable standard, period. It's just not everybody's going to be Simone Biles.
Right.
Not everybody's going to be that. You know, I mean, that's why she's the one that has these moves named for her that only she can do.
Right.
You know, and
her husband tries to make pretend he
girl,
didn't
don't even talk about Simone Biles' husband.
What is his name? Josh?
Girl, nobody
Jonathan.
knows. His name is Mr. Biles.
Jesuit.
He needs to be happy. He needs to be grateful. No, for real. It's so sad. Talk about tragic. Oh, can you imagine? I ain't know her. I ain't know who she was. You know who Gabby Davis is, but you don't know who she is. Man, if you don't sit your ass down somewhere and go play some football and be quiet.
Sir, take a knee in front of her.
Yeah, please.
Right.
Please.
Right.
Okay.
Bow to what needs to be bowed to. But
indeed.
So I want to know, what was the most challenging recent project that tested your like boundaries for sewing and crafting?
This is so hard because I'm so good at so many things. I didn't say I was perfect. I said I was good at so many things, and I am.
So many things.
So many. That makes it really
like
hard.
Organization, I feel like that's
I do love that.
Is that your gift in life?
Whole ass apothecary of her own. Y'all hear me?
I love it so much. People be like, "Are you at a store?"
No. I'm
in her house.
No, I'm downstairs in my house, in my basement, in the sewing room. But no, seriously, I most recently actually I made Vogue pattern 1982. And this tested me in some ways that I thought were going to be very difficult. And so I made it easy for myself. That Vogue dress is a dress that is lined with an invisible zipper down the center and a cape that attaches to the bodice of the dress through the shoulders. It's almost like a raglan. And so instead of putting the raglan sleeve onto the raglan bodice, you lay in the front pieces of the cape onto the bodice, then you add your sleeve.
Okay.
So that way it stays when you're walking. It's exactly, it stays tucked in and it's all this like really great one piece. I looked at this pattern on New Year's. I had looked at it a little bit before New Year's Eve. And I said, I want to wear this. I'm hosting an event. It's called Soup. It's an artist fundraising event that a local gallery and arts organization offers. I won Soup back in 2019, and I used the money to start the podcast. So since then, they've invited me to come back, and I'm kind of funny and lighthearted or whatever, so I make a good MC, right? And so I said, I want to wear this dress for this event. The challenge was I am not a great fan of woven fabrics for sheath style dresses on my body. I can do it. But I have a sway back, I've got an ass, I've got hips, I've got a belly that's like kind of flat in some ways, but protrudes in others. And it's just work, it would just take work. And I didn't really have the time because the event was like the ninth day of the year, so I didn't have that much time to figure out what I was going to do. And I always have to make a muslin first. And so I said, you know what? I'm changing this entirely. So I changed this dress that was meant to be from like a linen or a crepe into a ponte knit.
Come on.
And when I changed, and I grabbed that Mood fabrics that I bought like 12 years ago that was too good to do anything with. And I said, I'm not really doing Alethea's challenge that's so much talent challenge that much, but I do want to sew my stash for January. And so I said, look, I had this fabric and I said, what about the cape? I looked at a different option for the cape, had another piece of dark gray ponte for the cape. I was able to take this dress, which had a lining and a center back zipper, and turn the entire thing into a pullover.
Come on.
And I was able to line using the cape and some like reverse wrong side to right side sewing to line the entire neckline so that that neckline, for the most part, except for the center front where it's just folded down, that whole thing is basically lined with the cape and the neckline of the dress, so that there's no raw edges at all that you see around the neck, and it looks exactly like it would have looked if it was fully lined. And the cape attaches, and I added sleeves, and it was I made the decision to use that Ponte knit cross grain on purpose because I wanted it to stretch, but not too much. And I was happy that the print that I chose could work with it being totally cross grain. And so that's been a recent garment that really challenged me. And I felt really good about it because I was like, and so I ended up just making like the smallest size in the envelope that I had bought, and it just stretched where it needed to stretch. And I put it on, and I basted everything, like all 90,000 darts and all the seams and all that, and just slipped it on. And I was like, oh my gosh, what? And so then I had a dress. So changing absolutely everything about it was a challenge, but it was something that paid off, and I felt good about it. And I was glad that I made that choice. And that's not something, you can't always just switch out a knit for a woven. You really can't. You should not. But because I knew about the properties of the fabric, I was able to do that and have some good success with it.
Right. And I got to be honest, I saw it as she was working on it. It is beautiful. Love it.
It turned out. I was happy.
Yeah.
I love it. That's just amazing. And and especially for a Vogue pattern.
Yeah.
So come on now.
And it was an average. It was average. So that wasn't easy, but it was average. And I like Vogue patterns. It was funny because it reminds me of what Tiffany said on my show. She was like, this is again how we count ourselves out. Like, just because somebody thinks that pattern is hard, that's hard for them. It ain't got nothing to do with you.
Right.
And so I'm going to start thinking like that. I'm going to start getting like my friend Julian and getting some more Berta patterns over here, because the menswear, they are looking quite nice.
Are they?
Yeah. And
I went to Berta to check out their curve, and I was completely underwhelmed. And so maybe it's just that it's going to be something for like my husband.
Honestly, now the Berta that I'm liking mostly, like there are some, but y'all know I'm a vintage person.
Yeah, no, I
know.
Vintage.
Let's dive into the vintage, because I think that there's so many different more options when we do that.
Yes, especially for menswear. I feel like there is not a lot of imaginative, and maybe masculine wear instead of, because anybody can wear it, but the things that are styled and coded as masculine. I don't think there's a lot of choices, at least for me, from someone who sewed for boys for her entire career of sewing for little kids. It was the same old thing that was in the booklet when I was a kid. Same old pull-up shirt and pull-up shorts with elastic waistband and t-shirt and maybe a suit that, where would you wear such a thing? But Berta and a lot of the European companies have some really fun, fashion-forward.
I really agree with that.
Stuff.
Yes.
Do you remember Ottobre magazine? OTTOBRE. Remember Ottobre? I used to have. I gave those out to I did give them away to someone who had kids she was sewing for. But that magazine was fantastic.
So they, for a while there, I don't know if they still do it, they would come out with 1 or 2 family editions that included men's patterns.
Yes.
Like, these are just neat and different. And there was also there was a few other French magazines and stuff like that did that. And I'm currently waiting on an order from Tokyo.
Ooh.
I decided to buy some Japanese men's sewing books.
Yes.
So because of my size changing, I can fit into them easily.
Okay.
Not easily.
I love this for you.
Like toward the larger size, but I can fit.
Oh, that's awesome! I'm so excited for you
to give those a try.
That's going to be great. Yeah, and I'm so curious about the construction techniques, and what I did a thing on talk about disposing of old needles, and someone was saying that in Japan they have this thing where they all get together and they take their needles for the year and they put them all in some kind of fruit, and then they have they throw them in the ocean or something, like basically saying farewell to the needles for the service that they provide. I think someone said that was a Japanese thing. I'm curious about that now.
I just saw that video that you were talking about. We just, we shared it to our stories for this, for our podcast Instagram. So I know exactly what the one that you're talking about. Now I'm like, let me pull it up and see what they said.
Come on. See, you can pull the records. Pull the records.
That's right. We got receipts. We got receipts. That's why we keep them. That's why we keep them.
But in thinking of that, I think and just kind of again in reflecting on this conversation, and y'all, we bounced around on questions, so things were answered and different things like that. So we ain't going fully linearly in our questions. But if you can provide any insight or any advice for the audience who want to infuse more audacity into their creative endeavors, what would you tell them?
Trust yourself. Trust yourself. And I mean that sincerely. And by that, I mean, listen to yourself, respect yourself, believe yourself, follow your first mind, follow your first heart, listen to what you're saying. Trust that you have the nerve, you have the verve, you have the wisdom, you have all that you need. And the things that you don't have are things that are attainable for you. That, I think, is so important. It is so easy, especially in our attention deficit economy, where you might spend 6 hours scrolling through Instagram thinking that everybody knows more or does better or doing different or whatever. That turn that off and turn on your own interior light. Be kind to yourself. Recognize how far you've come. Give yourself credit for the ways you've grown. And there's still time. So I would just say approach it and approach yourself with a loving, generous, abundant, capacious vision of your life and what's possible for you. That's what I would say.
I love that. And I thank you for that. I think our audience needs to hear that. And so y'all audience, I'm talking to y'all. Y'all hear me? This is the episode, and that's a part of an episode that you need to come back to when you are working on something, not only in sewing, but just in life in general. And you are unsure. If you are, as I was in conversations today about conversational capacity and the idea of sometimes we either work to minimize or we work to min or we work to win. And sometimes, a lot of times, we all err towards the side of minimizing, especially those with intersections of color in the process. We are used to minimizing ourselves. We either try to make ourselves smaller, and those also permeate our decisions. So knowing to trust yourself, knowing to know that you have the tools already needed to make great decisions and to get what you want, and knowing that you are deserving of what you want. And by saying that, I mean what you want without modification, without trying to have substitutions, without trying to make it smaller, because that just sounds like too much. Be audacious with it. And want what you want and go for that.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to name it. Because if you can't name it, if you can't say what it is you want, you will never get close to having it.
Absolutely.
It's very difficult to have like somehow a secret goal that you won't even admit to yourself. Like how do you pursue that? I'm not saying you gotta tell everybody or put it on blast or put it on every vision board party you go to or anything like that. But I mean, I think you have, and that was something like you talked about the struggles. I was like, I want to have this amount of money per month to help the podcast and the organization to be solid. This is my goal. This is it. This is the number I want, and this is what I know I now need to work toward. It took a while to just say that in words, because I was like, oh my gosh, like what if someone thinks that's too much, or what if someone thinks, and it's like, well, they probably aren't the one giving me the money anyway, so who gives a shit what they think?
That part. Yeah.
And usually if they think that, it's because they don't know how to think bigger themselves.
Ooh,
talk about it.
Speak on it. I've literally just had that conversation with Aurora because I just finished reading the Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. For those who are not into fantasy, they are fantasy books. And I am one of those readers who really gets attached to the characters, to the plot. And like, I love to read series because I'm like, I just need for it to never end.
Yes.
Like, if I have a choice of reading a series versus watching a series, I'm going to choose reading every time. But at the dinner table tonight, we were talking about because Bo had snapped at his big sister because she had moved him after saying, "Excuse me, can you move your seat in some?" And he wanted to do it on his time, but she was trying to pass by.
So she just kind of scooted him out of the way.
Right. And so she's like, I asked him, I said, well, why did you snap at her that way? Like, did she make you feel a certain way? And did she make you feel bad, or did she make you feel less than? Like, can we investigate these feelings that you have for you to respond to her that way? And so Aurora says to me, oh yeah, well, there's this guy there's someone who sits in front of me who makes me feel that way. So of course I referenced this book because it's right up on the top of my head. Listen, I read like over 1,200 pages this weekend. Period.
Nice. I love it.
And so I was telling her, I said, it's so funny that you say that because there's a character in this book where her gift is to, her magic gift is to, in essence, make existing feelings grow and become overwhelming, which she can't create feeling for you. So in the book, the character feels insecure about her relationships. She feels like she's less than. She feels like all of these overwhelming negative feelings. And then she was told that the person who was making her feel that way doesn't actually have the ability to create the feeling. Right. She only has the ability to amplify the feeling that is there.
Yes.
And I'm like, that is exactly how life is.
Yes.
Right? No one can make you feel
a
way that you don't already have.
Exactly.
And so it's up to us to really be the determinators of how we feel and understand that we have that level of control over ourselves and over our lives. So no one can make us feel like our designs, our crafts, our passions, etc., are less than, unless we already feel inferior.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And like, there comes a point when, and I know that all of us have these elements, in our lives where we're like, you know what? I don't care what anybody says about blank. I know I'm good at blank.
Right.
I am good at organizing things.
Facts.
I am just, that is something I enjoy. I love it. It brings me peace and I enjoy doing it. So I could say.
It's not my ministry at all, as you can see from my picture behind me.
And I'm also like, anytime you're in Atlanta, you're more than welcome to just come into my
Well, listen, I'm already trying to get you. Listen, y'all think I'm playing. I am definitely thinking about this. People are, I'm amazed at some of the things that people are like, since I've been doing the I'm a Sewist series, I got to tell you about the I'm a Sewist series. People have been telling me things that like, I am really shocked by. Like someone was like, oh, I've been sewing for 20 years and I just throw my needles and broken pins into the trash.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you never thought to put them in a medicine bottle or wrap them in cardboard or.
So that the people who got to take your trash don't get hurt.
Yeah, they're like, this is amazing.
Same with their rotary blades. Yeah.
Oh yeah, just right into the trash can. And I'm like, do you never push your own trash down? Like, because I do that job all the time to put more in there.
Do you not like squish down?
Do you not? They must not be squishers because I'm a squisher. And I'm gonna get some more stuff into that. How many? I'm not made of plastic grocery bags. We're gonna put as much stuff in there as we can.
Right.
And also, I'm like, y'all don't have like old vitamin because I don't have a whole lot of pill bottles or medicine bottles. But I'm like, I do have old vitamin bottles, like
Altoid tins, anything.
Just walking around. Walking around vitamin deficient with stinky breath, like what?
Basically,
and sharps just going everywhere.
It's everywhere. So yeah. It's like, oh, they're just all in the carpet, and I'm like, I really hope you're joking. Mine is just.
This is not a judgment-free zone,
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna judge a tiny bit. Not that my judgment means anything. I said I'm laughing with you, not at you, but a tiny bit at you.
I give old church mother judgment. I mean,
Old church
I
mother.
I love you, baby.
I love you so much, honey. You do
Bless
such.
your
I'm so
heart.
proud of you. I'm so proud
Bless
of you.
your heart.
Put
Come
these
on,
things in a
but
medicine bottle, okay?
you
Yes.
got
Altoid tins. They only like $2 to get some
I
Altoid.
want better for you. How about that?
Yes.
I want better for you. I want better for you. So,
So-
Lisa, we're going to go into our final question,
Oh, okay.
right? Because we're having the best time with you. And we could probably bring you back for multiple episodes.
I would love to. I hope I ain't messed up so bad that y'all don't have me back now.
Listen, we've had too much fun. We're going to have to bring you back for multiples.
But
one of the things that I hear a lot of sewists talk about, especially when they are getting started sewing, is, oh, I don't want to make a mistake, right? And when you're a veteran sewist, they don't like, not saying that we don't show our mistakes, because I mean, if you watch me sew, I'm gonna show a mistake and I'm gonna show you how I fixed it, both the lazy way and the correct way, right?
Yes.
What are some ways that you've turned some of those quote unquote mistakes into now new design decisions?
Yes, absolutely. I say I don't make mistakes. I make design opportunities.
Yes.
There you go.
And I think that if you're afraid to make mistakes, you will never make art.
Say it one more time for us, Lisa.
If you are afraid to make mistakes, you will never make art.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I think this is especially true of adult learners. I've been talking to like a lot of quilt teachers. I think it was Latifa Safir that might have said this, that there's something about it was one of the quilters that I'd interviewed a while ago. And she was saying that because they teach adults, older adults, church mother types, etc., older folks, and they are terrified of making a mistake. And it's because I think as adults, we live in this kind of unforgiving time. As opposed to when you're a kid, you're supposed to make a mistake. You're supposed to get it wrong. If you don't know all the 5 times tables, then someone will help you remember them or whatever, But like, we don't give ourselves that kind of grace that we should. But I think that don't shortchange yourself by demanding a standard that nobody can attain.
Ooh. And that's in sewing and in life.
Yes. A word.
And this is something I'm saying to myself because I need to hear it as well. I'm telling you, everything that I'm saying and talking about is something that I struggle with, something that I'm working through, working with, working past, etc. I'm not new to this. I am true to this. I am definitely someone who is working hard on growing, on understanding and cultivating space where others can grow and feel seen. And I have to do that for myself too. I have to do it for myself. You can't provide a place of care for other people if you don't care well for yourself. That's why they say put the oxygen mask on first before you help other passengers.
Come on.
You got to do it.
You really
selfish. It is not selfish. I think selfish is a word. Yeah, selfish is a word we need to get out of our vocabulary. Lazy is another word we need to get out of our vocabulary.
But you were constantly working with me on.
Every time I turn on, she talking about the L word. I'm like, we talked about this. You're not. It should be like, I'm being so lazy. I said efficient. I'll type one word in: efficient? ? Efficient, strategic.
Listen, I tell you what. One thing about Lisa is she is going to, and here's the funny thing is that we always have to have the people around us that are going to adjust our crowns for us, right? And I'm blessed that I have the opportunity to do it for others, but I'm also so blessed that I have Lisa and, some of my other people who have the opportunity to do it for me as well, right? Because we have been taught so many words that give negative connotation for brilliance. And instead of accepting it for what it is, because we've done something different, then we feel like it's the negative, and we should be looking at it as something that's completely different. It's funny because I feel like both you and Julian are consistently coaching me on that, because like talking to Julian about how I was trained in Six Sigma, GE workout process, etc., which is the reason why my mind naturally takes these shortcuts. And it's not lazy. You're correct. It's more efficient. Right. It's reducing the amount of steps it takes us to get from point A to Z. Instead of going A, B, C, D, with me, you might go through A, D, G, like we skipping some things, but we're still going to get to Z successfully.
That's right.
We just
will
gonna
get
spell a
there.
better word. That's all it is.
We're gonna spell a better word.
Exactly.
We still
And we're
waiting
gonna
on the
spell it
course.
faster.
And we still
Exactly.
waiting on the Six Sigma sewing course.
I don't know if I can like say that because I feel
Well,
like that's already
karate
branded.
sewing course, whatever.
Right.
The
You're
karate,
correct though.
the
I'm excited.
karate of sewing. There we go.
Mhm.
But whatever. But yes, because it's coming. I've
I
decided.
love it.
I've decided
is.
for you. So I'm curious. Just as we are wrapping up, what are you working on now?
Mhm.
Now I am working on a sample dress for DC Frocktails, which is the
Okay.
first Saturday in February. And I am making a sample of a simplicity gown that's a very simple, like pull up, no closure, stretchy fabric type gown. However, I also have the Aurora jumpsuit that is
Aurora
also
jumpsuit.
on the table, because that is another kind of sleeveless pull up piece that I could also use. And so I was trying to decide between the two. So I'm going to make a muslin of the dress. And then I definitely love the Aurora jumpsuit. I've seen so many people make it. It looks so cute. And I'm like, well, if I don't use it for February, because again, no sleeves, no nothing up here, it might not be a great thing for February and December. I mean, February in Washington, D.C. But it's definitely something that I want to have for the spring. And I'm already thinking about, like, I've already pulled different fabric swatches for the things I want to try. So I'm really looking forward to that. So the next things on my table are the Know Me pattern by Butte J'adore, and then the Simplicity dress pattern, and then the Aurora jumpsuit. These are the things that are kind of in my sequencing for the next few weeks or so, is what I'm thinking.
Love it, love it. Aaronica, what's on your table right now?
I mean, like if we're physically looking at it, right?
I mean, as you can see, mine's is a mountain, so we ain't gonna talk about it. We ain't talking about it.
Honestly, I feel like right now, in fact, I actually just published this on YouTube. I'm actually going through and eliminating my clothes in my current closet right now, because I feel like, my husband has told me that we have run out of hangers, and that I am also running out of space in my closet. Except my issue is I feel like I have nothing to wear. Right. Yeah. So that tells me that right now my closet is filled with things that are not inspiring me to get dressed.
Yes.
So up first for me this week is I've already planned out what feels like my current style, and it's giving like high school art teacher mixed with rich auntie aesthetic. Right?
Okay, girl, I like it.
Like lots of layers, and bringing in drama even where it's not necessarily needed, because Aurora, who of course the Aurora jumpsuit is named after, is my constant reminder of being extra because the day ends in Y. And I'm really trying to hold that energy for all of 2024.
That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying?
Celebrate. Every day's a party.
Yeah. So that's what I'm really focusing on, because I want to be more intentional about the pieces that I'm adding to my wardrobe, and them being things that I want to wear and rewear and rewear and rewear.
Yes.
And then, of course, I'm drafting a new pattern. I'll have a pattern that's going into testing. Very, very excited about it, because it's a pleated skirt situation that's drafted for knit versus woven. And it's going to have a couple of different options for it.
That sounds very fun.
So that we aren't out here showing our bits and pieces,
Okay. Oh, that does sound nice.
Yeah.
I love it.
A couple things working on.
What about you, Julian? What are you doing?
Homework. So
homework.
I'm in the confident pattern drafting class. And you're in now week 2. So I can show a little bit of what I've been working on. And I know I've been sending Aaronica, because Aaronica is holding me accountable. And it's really been firstly about doing a lot of my like just basic mock-up stuff. So I have been able to do a draft of a back bodice. In Illustrator. This is the first time I've ever gotten something that felt like it was tangible in Illustrator, and I understood it.
Oh, that's really good. That is a great skill to develop and refine. Goodness gracious. So, Illustrator is no joke.
Just from that perspective alone, I'm like, take this class, like invest, because it
Yeah.
this is the first time, and I bought other classes, did Craftsy, did the
Yes.
Domestica, did
Yes.
Skillshare. This is the
Yes.
first time it's made sense to
Oh,
me.
that's so good.
So we are doing that. Like, so I am going through finishing up from last week because I had to redo my back bodice because I had to retake some measurements because
Okay.
I had it right. Um, Finishing up my front bodice, about to do the sleeve and stuff like that, so that I can then test this out. We'll take this bodice and then make it for like a masculine body,
Mhm.
to test it out. And then I'm also I do have some fabric coming. So Stephanie Canada from Backroom Finds reached out to me to see if I was interested in trying some of the vintage patterns and fabrics that she has.
Ooh.
Found a pattern that I liked in my current size,
Okay.
and that's just surprised me with fabric.
Oh, that is so nice. I cannot wait to see it.
That is so exciting.
So when that comes, definitely will be a video that I will be sharing. But this is, if you do not follow Stephanie Canada
Mhm.
on all platforms,
Okay.
not like the North Country, I think is like her email, and maybe you can find her on Instagram that way as well. Great
You said it's not
fabrics.
like the North?
Not like the North Country, or not like not like the North Country.
Okay.
But when I tell you awesome, amazing fabrics, like, and she sources them and they are dead stock or from
Oh,
dress shops and stuff like that that
wow.
are down. And like these are things from the 60s and the 70s. And
Wow. Where is she finding new vintage fabrics?
so
That's
she
great.
like, I think this place was, I want to say it might have been in Virginia, and it was like a warehouse that she
Mm,
like bought the whole entire stock of.
goodness gracious. Good for her.
And it is, oh, child, it's amazing. So, and what's also great is that I have a code. So for people
Okay,
who are
Code.
interested in shopping and seeing
Yes,
some of
of
the different
course.
fabrics that she has, definitely you can use my code for a little discount. Let me find it
I
real
know
fast.
that's right.
Of
We
course.
will make sure that that discount code and that link are included in the show notes so that way you will be able to click on it and use Julian's link because we are supporting everyone getting money. Mhm.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And but also we're supporting a small business that
Yes.
is like that we do believe in, and I do believe
Yes.
in business, and I think
Yes.
she is really amazing and stuff like that, and the code is JC25.
Oh, I love it.
JC25.
JC25. But literally and I mean, especially for vintage patterns that you're looking for some of the rare ones,
Wow.
good place to check out.
Oh,
So
that's really a great endorsement from you, Julian, because you be knowing.
Yes.
look, look. So I'm really excited for that. And I am finishing up a 90 shirt of dreams. A little bit avant-garde, but a little bit, just different. It's a vintage Berta pattern. Out of a tencel twill and a Joanne's, I think they called it like a tencel or rayon satin or something
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
The Satan spawner fabric.
Oh,
Satan's, I mean, straight out,
It's been
straight
a
out of
struggle. You've been struggling with that. That fabric's been
straight out
fighting
of.
for its life. That fabric fighting for its life.
But we almost there. I got one more button to put on and then hem it. So
Oh, I can't wait. I
and
cannot
we're gonna take
wait.
some pictures in it. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. And
I
I
love it.
am excited, and I will bring another report of how my class is going next week.
I cannot wait. I've heard so many great things about this class from so many people who are in it. I have lots of friends who are in there, and of course, as a designer, I am cheering you guys on. I cannot wait to see the things that you all begin to create. Um, I'm just geeked. I'm so geeked. Ugh, so excited for you all.
That's about to be, especially for me, what is important to me is that the menswear space is going to see
Yes,
influx of creativity.
Oh, I'm
we
so
cannot
glad.
wait to receive the bow polo.
Yes.
I mean, I love that it's been named. It's ready to go. It's ready to go. She's did this a few times. She's letting me know. She lets me
Mhm.
know.
It's gonna be
So
great.
it was called the Bow Polo. Yes.
Cannot wait. Cannot wait. Well, Lisa, I cannot thank you enough for one being the first guest on our podcast.
I'm so honored.
And then two, just coming in here with the wisdom that you have, with the knowledge that you not just have, but you share and you act on, and that you demonstrate what it looks like to not just be out here reading and absorbing information, but more importantly, how you can help people with that information, not just you, but your community as well. So I, for one, am just so appreciative. And I cannot wait for our listeners to hear what you have said today up on this podcast. Like, I'm like geeked to hit publish. You know what I'm saying? Cannot wait. Cannot wait. I mean, like, I was over here taking notes and I was like, girl, calm down. It's okay because you'll get a transcript. It's fine. You can just reread it. You don't have to write everything down. Stop taking notes, And with that, I'm gonna let Barry White go ahead and close us out tonight.
Again, we definitely want to say thank you. And thank you for always being an example, just not only in the crafting space, but in this podcasting space of how to do it, how to honor guests. And I hope you had a good time with us for our first time as a guest on the Audacity. But to the audience, we want to say, make sure that you find time to live audaciously, to listen to yourself, to trust your own voice inside, and make sure that you getting your money and getting the money of your ancestors.
Come on.
With interest.
Yes.
So with that, keep creating this week, and we'll talk to y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.